Hey, Max.
Good morning, Max. How you doing?
Guys, how y'all this morning? Is it hot enough
Good.
over in Tuscaloosa this morning?
Well, it's pretty warm. It's going to be warm like it was. I think it was 100 degrees yesterday or something. Pretty warm.
Yeah, it was 105. I did a cookout for a bunch of people last night. We did a big fish fry. And you talking about hot now. You stand over a cooker frying fish for about an hour, your shoes will get wet. Let's just tell you that.
Yeah, you'll need a shower after that, won't you, Max?
Max, before we talk about what needs to be done with Alabama, talk to our listeners a little bit about what Alabama's going to see from this Southern Cal team. I know all through the years when I was at Alabama, when John McKay was out there, all through the years they've always had great athletes. They've been a football team that has drawn great athletes,
right.
And they continue to do that. I mean, they've got a new coaching staff, but it should be a pretty good opponent.
I don't think it's any doubt. Of course, Clay Helton takes over, coach, after really the last two, they had major problems. Lane Kiffin, of course, who now is Alabama, but had some problems there as a head guy. And then Steve Sarkisian came in from Washington, and that didn't work out for them. And they were a little bit better on the field. They had 6 losses last year, but the fact is they still won the Pac-12. So I think you can go back and take a look at what they got. I talked to a friend of mine out there that was there during the spring. He said 3 outstanding athletes: wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster, big running back Ronald Jones, and they got an all-around athlete, Andre Jackson, who can play wide receiver, defensive back. They're going to use him as well. But that's not the strength of the team. The strength of this year's football team, according to folks that I talked to over the weekend, is their offensive front. They got 3 legitimate first or second round offensive line prospects. Got a guard and 2 tackles that can play in the NFL as rookies. And that's where the strength is. The other side of the ball, from everything I've heard and found out, their defense is kind of just a makeshift. And they're not going to be nearly as good early as they will be later. If you look at their schedule, they open up with Alabama, then they got Utah, then they got Stanford. So they got 2 out of their 3 opening balls. They got Utah State, Alabama and Stanford in the first 3. That's going to give, probably losses for them, the way it looks right now. Their defense will get better, but right now I think they got their hands full on the defensive side.
Well, the offensive line coach, of course, is from former UAB and played at Alabama.
Right.
And I think he can really coach. Yeah. So.
And that's where, from everybody out there, and I did talk to a couple guys, but one guy that was there during spring said that's their strength right now is their offensive front. So I think Alabama, if Alabama does what and this was where I ended up the conversation yesterday, if Alabama does what they're supposed to do, Alabama should win. I think the line is opening up at 12, Alabama's favor, and I think Alabama probably wins that thing by 2 touchdowns.
How good are they at quarterback?
Well, they don't know yet. The kid they've had out there before, Cody Kessner, graduated. He's been there. He's been the starter for like 3 years. They'll bring in. They've got 2 junior college kids and 2 freshmen, or redshirt freshmen, that are vying for the starting quarterback position. And I think that will be determined. That will determine how good they really are on the offensive side. But that's an unknown right now. They've not released anything on who's going to get the nod. They're not named a starter.
Well, there's been.
Max,
go ahead, Barry.
Max, Alabama. You went out. It's been a couple months ago. We actually played the clip on Friday about Jalen Hurts. You think, the people you talked to, maybe not the first game, but he'll eventually win the job at Alabama. But, Alabama's strength is their wide receivers, I believe, this year. But when you go into a game like that with an unproven running back, and they've got a great offensive line that can control the ball, what kind of game plan, if you're Alabama, do you go into a game like that with an unproven guy, with great receivers, but that requires you to throw the ball? How does Alabama play this football game against Southern Cal and Dallas?
This is what I think, and why I've said from day one, I think Jalen Hurts is going to be the quarterback. Eventually, he's going to get a lot of playing time early. I don't think he starts. I think Coach Saban will stay traditional starting. But I think, going in the second half, I look for him to play because of the things you said. They got to have somebody back there. Scarborough's going to be a good running back, but as you saw this spring, he can't block yet, and you can't run that style of offense that Alabama runs without a block, without a back that can block. And then, of course, you got to run him some as well. He can carry the load running. I don't think there's any doubt. But I think with a guy like Hurt, where you got to defend the quarterback run as well, I think that puts the pressure on him. And I think, Coach, you said this last week. We talked about it. Alabama's last big-time win out there was when Coach Bryant unveiled the three-back offense in a wishbone because they'd never seen it before. I think this could very well happen, the same thing in Arlington this year against Southern Cal with Alabama running the breed option offense.
So I thought Cecil Hurt had a nice article about what people think and how they read into things concerning the situation with these two kids that pretty much are getting disciplined without people really realizing it. They've done a lot with them,
sure,
and trying to make them better people.
Right.
There are people, and not that you're trying to satisfy everybody, because you couldn't coach and do that.
Right.
But there are people who feel like that are away from Alabama, but looking at Alabama and wanting to criticize them as much as they can for whatever. That maybe they're not going to take any playing time away from them.
No, they are. Look, let me ask you to do something. Go to GameDayBama.com and read the article Andy Hodges wrote. Andy went back and looked at the laws in both the state of Louisiana and in Mississippi and in Alabama on the charges. And you'll see quickly why the decision came down. The laws in Louisiana are so much more liberal than they are in Alabama. You can't, just because they play ball in Alabama, they didn't get picked up in Alabama, and they aren't from Alabama.
Yeah, I don't really worry about or even discuss on other radio shows about what happened, because I don't really know. I listen to people call in and tell me, say the judge didn't know this, and they didn't know this, and the lawyers doesn't know that. It doesn't matter what they know or doesn't know. It comes down to the ability of the Alabama coaching staff, and certainly they've got a lot of ability to be able to rehabilitate these guys to the point that they are able to play and to go on with their lives without being involved with a car full of dope. And I don't care, and to make any difference. I don't know what happened, but I think that behind the scenes that Nick Saban's doing that.
Yeah,
he's got the big guy he's in Cam's in the automobile with a sheriff or with a patrolman. He's going wherever they go. He's seeing what happens. He's seeing the need to get himself straight. And I don't know. I don't think that I never have believed in suspending a guy for a half. And I suspended some. I suspended one time after beating Georgetown and Southern Cal and made him go with us and didn't play against UCLA. But I think Nick Saban, he's not a big suspension guy. He knows it affects the other teams. He's a guy that wants to get that guy straightened out. And sometimes that doesn't sit well with John Q. Fan or somebody that's trying to criticize the Alabama program.
Well, here's two things, and I'm listening to you very carefully. Two things. We know that the track record of Coach Saban has been very good at that. And here's what happens. You know this. The kid either straightens his life up or he's gone. One or the other. Those are the choices he has. Coach Saban's been very good. And even sometimes when they've gone, they've come back. I.e., the Petway kid that played last year went away off those charges they had and went to junior college, came back and was a starter for him. So he's got a great track record in the rehab business, Coach. I don't think there's any doubt about that. But the perception from the fan base is just that. Alabama wins, and they win consistently as they've done, and the kid keeps himself straight, then one or two things are going to happen. The guys that were on the fence thinking about it as far as what they think about the program will either go away, or some people, you never change their mind.
Yeah.
And you know what? In my opinion,
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. You're right. If the kid straightens his life out, Alabama goes on to have a successful year. I hate to say this, but who cares what they think?
Yeah, that's true. Barry?
Max, talk a little bit about USC again. What kind of offense will they run? Coach Helton, is he a traditional guy? Will they spread it?
Yeah.
Do you have a feel for USC and what kind of offense they'll run?
Yeah, I think a lot of that's going to depend, Bear, on who gets a starting job. They've got a couple of read option quarterbacks. Here's what's going to happen, and I think one of the reasons that I feel, and some of the people I've talked to, thinks that the Herf kid will gradually get the job because high school kids, that's where they've all gone to. The recruiting base for high school. I just went to a 7-on-7. We had 29 football teams last week right here in Tupelo, and this was all the 6 and 7A schools in North Mississippi. And I didn't see anything but a read option quarterback there. I mean, and most of them were 6'3" to 6'5" kids that can run and throw. And I think that's the reason. So I think that Southern Cal, Clay Helton basically would love to be the same kind of offensive, run the same offense that Coach Saban does, play good, strong defense, but they don't have the defense, so they got to score. So he's going to have to play the guy. They got 3 great wide receivers and a good running back, and the offensive line is good. So I think they're going to have to find that guy. And I think they will, try to be everybody says we're going to be balanced. We're going to run and throw the ball an equal amount of time. Well, some can do that, some can't. But if you're behind because your defense is no good, your odds are, if you stay in the game, you're going to have to throw it. So I think that's going to dictate, what style that he comes out against Alabama with.
Well, I think you win against Southern Cal because they're not very good defensively.
Exactly right.
You don't win against Ole Miss like that.
No.
Once you get to Ole Miss and you played Western Kentucky in between there, and you decided by then which one of those 3 is going to be your quarterback, which one of those 4, you don't win the game against Ole Miss the way that you have a chance to win the game against Southern Cal.
Absolutely true.
Ole Miss is going to be better. They're going to be smarter. They're going to be playing at home. They've beaten you twice. They've got a lot of confidence. I think the page. And I know we're talking about Southern Cal, but I do think the page really turns in the 3rd game as well.
I agree. And I think I said that day 1. I do believe that's the way the thing will unfold. And I didn't see anything in the spring from the other 3 guys that made me believe that they could step up and win the SEC West. I just didn't see it. Now, they may improve to that level. I don't know. Bateman's got the most experience, but go check his last start. Who was it? The last only start was against Ole Miss. And of course, they made the change back, and and Alabama wins the championship. So I think all of that will play a role in their preparation. And I think you can talk to anybody. If you talk to any of those offensive coaches, not on the public side, but just in a conversation, they're going to tell you the Jalen Hurts kid is the best quarterback, best athlete that they got on the squad.
The thing that would concern me there is if I'm one of the other 3 quarterbacks, kid from all 3 of those quarterbacks, and Jalen jumps ahead of me, that quickly, and I'm sitting there as a redshirt freshman, like Blake is. I don't think I'm going to stay.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the normal thought process. But we don't know what other ties that are there. We don't know where the kid, what their aspirations are. Some of them, as some of them just want to get through, have a great college career, go off into the real world. Some have family ties; they want to stay. Some of them just want. Look, I coached a kid in high school, my second year of high school ball. A kid named Joe Kelly, down in Ozark, Alabama.
I know Joe.
Okay, well, he could have started for Florida State as a freshman. They told him he could. What does he do? Alabama wasn't throwing the football. They were running in those days. And he goes to Alabama, plays a little, but sits on the bench, goes out, and he made a heck of a great career in the financial world. But he wanted to go to Alabama and do that, and I think that's a good example of what you have many times in certain players.
I agree. I knew Joe real well. Smart kid.
Max, how good is Kelly from Ole Miss?
Kelly?
Good is he?
Oh, he's the best.
Yeah.
He may be the best since Archie. I think he's better than Eli myself.
Really?
Oh, I do. The kid, look, the kid's got a better arm. The kid can throw it. He can throw it 20, 30 yard out on the run, and throw it across his body. I mean, I'm telling you, he's as good as advertised. Now, here's where he's got problems, guys. The offensive front has no depth. Their running game is limited. They're going to do a lot of play action, misdirection stuff all year long. They got to. The defense lost 7 starters. Ole Miss is going to be. I got them listed 3rd. I got Alabama, LSU, and Ole Miss in that order. As I look down, not only for schedule, but look, Ole Miss has got Florida State. Then they got Wofford or somebody. Then they got Alabama and Georgia all in September. Here's where they're going to have a problem, guys, down the road is depth. If they get somebody hurt, they ain't got anybody else that can play right now.
Well, I think it'll be interesting to see, just exactly what Alabama does as far as this first game's concerned. West Kentucky won't be much, but once you get past those two, and you should get past both of those, I think you've got, unless your quarterback is so established that that one of them has jumped out just way ahead of the other three.
Right. Yeah.
You're going to see a heck of a game in that third game.
Yeah, I think so too. But I'll tell you guys, the team that nobody's looking and talking about, if Brandon Allen at LSU plays like he's supposed to play this year, there's your threat right there. That kid, LSU's got more NFL prospects than Alabama's got right now. They are absolutely loaded. And that came from a guy that's on the field at LSU every day.
Well, is this Alabama's toughest schedule? When you have to go to Tennessee, who's really improved. You have to go to LSU. You play Southern Cal on neutral field. Is this Nick Saban's toughest schedule?
I think
today?
so. I think so, but I think it could be. We don't know about A&M. We don't know where their transfer coming in from Oklahoma. We don't know where he's going to be able to pull it. We don't know if John Chavis has got their defense playing at the level he's supposed to play it. We don't know. We don't know about Arkansas. I mean, all the hype about Arkansas is that they're working. I'm just telling you, a guy told me that covers Arkansas last week. Arkansas is working on Alabama every day right now. That's a game that they feel like they have to try to win this year. And I don't think they can. I think Bielema's philosophy is different. They don't have a running back. They lost a running back. They lost a starting quarterback. They lost 3 offensive linemen. And the defense is suspect anyway. So I don't see how they can do it. I got them ranked next to last behind right ahead of Mississippi State in the West.
Oh, boy.
But I just think, on any given day, we know how it is in the SEC.
Yep. Well, Max, tell everybody about your websites and what you got going on there. I know it's getting
I'm telling you guys right now, GameDayBama.com is alive and well, and the guy that writes on that article, he's 40 years in the business. He was a lead columnist for the Dallas Morning News for over 20 years. Very good, strong background. He did the article on the Cam Robinson deal. Go to GameDayBama.com and check that out. And of course, the other one over here is GameDay, MISS, GameDayMiss.com. We'll be covering Ole Miss and Mississippi State. But they're up and well, and we're excited. Over 20,000 followers already in the first 2 months.
That's awesome, great, Max. All right.
We'll talk to you on Thursday.
Talk to you on Thursday, Max.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank y'all so much.